You were trained to shut up, show up, and power through. And now your marriage is gone, and your kids are distant, and you're still pretending you're fine. This isn't strength, this is collapse, and today we expose why it's happening to all of us. You see, the average modern man dies 5 years earlier than women, has fewer close friends than ever before, and loses his family by age 42. This isn't just personal, it's a masculine collapse all over the world. And if you don't update your identity, you'll get swallowed by it. Brother, you weren't trained for this world. You were trained for a world that doesn't exist any longer. Your father came home and didn't talk about his feelings. He worked hard, didn't ask questions, and stayed quiet. He wanted to survive. His father survived the war, came home, buried the trauma, and taught his son to do the same. And that's a pattern that worked for generations in the previous world. That doesn't work today any longer. And here you are, trying to raise your kids, trying to lead a business, be successful in your career, build a good relationship, be a good man. And those tools you were trained with, they just don't work. And if you're not going to upgrade your code, I guarantee you're going to burn everything down trying to protect the one you currently have. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why the version of masculinity you were taught is failing you right now. Why what worked for your father, for your grandfather, and perhaps even the generations before right now are destroying your family, your peace, and your purpose. We're going to break down the 6 outdated patterns that most men keep repeating and the new code that's required if you want to lead yourself, your family, and your community in today's world. By the way, if you like this video, I encourage you to subscribe and like this video if you want to get more transformative content. So look, the old masculine blueprint came from a world that doesn't exist. It came from a world where threats were abundant and plentiful everywhere. I mean, we're talking about war, famine, raids, disease, illness, and death. If the man did not provide and protect physically, his family didn't make it. That's where the masculinity today came from. And even in more recent time, we can think about the factory worker, the war veteran, the blue-collar dad. Their value was not based on anything more than what they could do today. That's it. Feelings were dangerous. Talking was weakness. Masculinity meant show up, do what you can, shut the fuck up, and don't break. And you know what? That code made sense for the world they were living in. But today, your woman doesn't need a soldier. Your kids, they don't need a paycheck. What they need is a connected, available, present, and fully integrated man. And the code that your father and the generations before lived is not just outdated, it's outright destructive to your life today. That's why you're here. Because look, masculinity is not dominance, it's not force, it's containment. It's creating the container where everybody in your vicinity, under your dominion, your kids, your wife, maybe your community, your business, they have the ability to interact with each other in a safe space so that they can learn and grow and develop themselves. That's what containment means. And it's not about powering through. It's about your capacity to hold everything, the body, the being, the balance and relationships and the business without controlling and without collapsing. That's what it's all about. So what is masculinity? Well, masculinity is leading yourself first so others can trust your direction. Maybe you've heard it before. Be the change you want to see. You see, your wife or your ex-wife or your girlfriend or even people in your business or your kids, they don't give a fuck about what you say. Literally, they don't give a fuck. Behind what you say, what they do is they look at what you do. But beyond that, they look at who you are being. Your boys, your kids, boys, they will become who you are. Your girls will marry a man who is who you are. So it's not only about what you do, it's who you're being. So what you need to do is lead yourself first. Be the change you want to see. Masculinity is about feeling deeply, but responding wisely. What does it mean? Well, most men today, they're cut off from their feelings. Why? Because the only feeling they're taught is safe to express is actually anger and rage. When there is too many feelings, and then they just explode and they express that. And what do? They create crazy damage. And so they don't want to create crazy damage. Feelings are dangerous, so they cut themselves off from them. And what did he do in the process? Well, they cut all the connection that they can experience with other human beings, with their kids, with the wife, with other human beings. Why? Because a connection, friendship, connection, love, those are feelings. Cutting yourself from one is cutting from everything. So men and masculinity is feeling deeply, but not acting on those feelings, but responding wisely, responding from what you want to build long term, as opposed to how you feel in the moment. Feel what you have, but act and be from a long term vision. Masculinity is about providing more than a paycheck, more than money. It's about providing peace. What does it mean? It's building an environment where people can collide with each other, knowing that it's safe, that at the end of it all, everybody's going to win. And collision does not mean we fight and we scream at each other and we yell at each other and we call each other names and slam doors and doing these kind of things. No. Colliding means we are able to discuss, even with passion, our points of view, where we stand, knowing we will be listened to. We will be acknowledged, respected, and considered. We will be heard. And the man who provides that is a masculine man. It's not running away from conflict and putting everything under the carpet. It's providing an environment where conflict is safe to express, where we can have disagreements, yet we can discuss them and arrive at some sort of a consensus that puts everybody at ease, at peace, and at a win. Masculinity is about protecting more than your home. It's protecting the room from your nervous system being hijacked. What does it mean? Well, a lot of the times, the biggest problem in the room and the biggest problem in your family is you. And not you who you are deep inside, but it's your patterns that you inherited from your father, from your grandfather, from all of the different unhealthy masculine ways that possibly served them in previous generations, but today destroy your relationships. That's what you need to protect your room from your old patterns. And masculinity is about building more than legacy. It's about building a place where others can rise, especially your kids and your wife or your ex-wife. And I'm not talking about a place, a physical place. I'm talking about the emotional, energetic space where your kids feel safe, developing themselves, expressing everything they go through to you without expecting a reprimand or a door slammed in the face or a lecture for 1 hour about how life is and shit like that. No. It's building a place where others can rise. And look, if you have not taught this and been trained in this way of being, it's not your fault. But now it's your responsibility to learn it. So let's go right into it. So what are the 6 main patterns most men fall from that come from old masculinity? Well, the first one is emotional suppression over emotional mastery. Now look, as a man, you probably learned one thing, that the one emotion you can express safely is anger. That's right. You probably guessed it in your head before I said so. You weren't allowed to be sad. You weren't allowed to be afraid or lonely or ashamed or guilty. No, you weren't allowed to be grieved. You had to make the stoic face, and the only emotion is anger. That you're allowed. Yeah. But here's what happens. When you shut down some emotions, you shut down all emotions. And now, how can you expect to lead and to even connect with your kids, with your woman, if you can't feel what they feel? It's impossible. And masculinity today is about emotional presence without the emotional chaos. What does it mean? It means that you need to get in touch with your feelings and, yes, actually feel shit. Not just the blame, the anger, the guilt, the shame, the anger, but the joy, the lust, the happiness, the connection, the fulfillment, the pride, everything. Feel everything. But don't allow those feelings to dictate how you act and destroy the relationships and create problems for your family and for those you care about. That's what it's all about. That's how you can connect. Pattern number 2, task-forced communication versus connection-based communication. Look, throughout your upbringing, your communication was built to perform, to function. Get this, do that, solve this problem. I mean, even through high school and through regular school, like, what did you learn? Here's a problem, solve it. Here's a problem, solve it. Here's a problem, solve it. So you weren't taught to listen. You weren't taught to relate, and you weren't taught to reveal, to be vulnerable. But connection is the currency of trust. And without connection, your relationships are going to stay shallow. And you're not going to go anywhere. That's probably why you're watching this video, because your wife left or about to leave you because you're not able to communicate. But of course, you cannot communicate what you feel and reveal your feelings if you're cut from the feelings. You understand the nature of the problem? And masculinity now is creation of the safe space through connection, through communication, through communion, not through silence. Pattern number 3 that destroys men today: control-based leadership versus influence-based leadership. Now look, you were trained to lead by holding power, barking orders, being controlling, being the strongest, being the loudest, being the one who always knows. And what is it met with today? It's met with resistance. That's the only thing you're building with the old leadership style. Real leadership today, it's vision, it's clarity, it's influence. And so ask yourself, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't understand what's the grand plan for you, if you don't have your own routines and systems set up for you, what can you provide your family with? How can you lead them if you're not able to lead yourself? Remember, be the change you want to see. You need to lead yourself first. So if you're not leading yourself first, whatever you're going to try to control others and to power others and to barking orders at them, that's going to be met with resistance. That's why your wife left. That's why your kids resist you right now. Masculinity today is being so grounded in your own leadership and leading yourself that others can rise in your presence. That's what it means. Pattern number 4, obedience versus adaptability. Now look, you were trained to follow orders all throughout the school upbringing. Just follow the orders from your dad, from your mom. Follow orders. Do this, don't question, just perform, just deliver. And look, this is coming from a world that didn't really change very rapidly. Look, 19th century, 18th century, 16th century, 15th century, 14th century. You're born in the world, chances are you're going to die in the same world. No new invention, no new metamorphosis. Today, just look around you. How much progress there is in 1 year, in 1 day. There is a new discovery every single day that's happening in health, in robotics, in engineering, in technology, everywhere. The world is evolving rapidly. Right now, we don't need to follow orders. You need to adapt. Your ability to reframe, to pivot, to adapt very quickly is what makes you valuable in today's world. So if you don't have that capacity, well, no wonder your wife does not consider you as a valuable asset to her. And so she leaves. Masculinity today is flexibility without flinching. Your ability to pivot, to adapt, to change. Pattern number 5, protecting and providing physically versus creating emotional and spiritual safety. You thought that providing meant money, paycheck, physical goods, tangible goods, material goods. That protections means fighting. But what your family actually needed is a man capable of protecting them from his own fuck-ups, from his own reactivity. What they needed is a man who is able to build an environment where they can be heard, felt, seen, loved without the fear, without fearing you and your reaction. So masculinity today is providing for others around you a safe space, safe from his own bullshit and his reactivity. Pattern number 6, and that's the worst one. Most men live just to survive, but in reality, they need to expand. Now look, you were taught from early on just to survive, just to get by, to stay afloat, to play not to lose, to protect, be responsible. Don't overspend, don't overexpand, don't risk, protect. And so you learn to play not to lose. But think about it, your purpose in life is not mere survivalship. It's about expansion and thriving. Masculinity today is having it all. It's having the body, having the being and the purpose, having the balance and the relationships, and having it all in the business. It's being everything, having it all. You were born the man. That's what you were born for. Expansion, not mere survival. Those are the 6 destructive patterns of the old masculine way that most men today are actually prone to. Now, look, the truth of the matter is you were not weak. You were just outdated. The game has changed and nobody gave you the new playbook. That's all. But unfortunately, you thought that you wanted to lead your family by being a soldier with the old mentality. But guess what? The real war was not out there. It was right here, in your mind and in your nervous system. And I have bad news for you. If you're watching this video, you have lost that game. You lost that battle. And that's why right now you feel lost. That's why you broke. And that's why you're all alone. So now you have a choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep on allowing those toxic patterns from the past, outdated patterns that don't serve anybody anymore to run your life? Or you're actually going to design and live a life where you can have it all, where you can thrive? Well, the choice is really yours. And ultimately, nobody will care but you and your kids. So what are you going to do? Now, before you make that decision, or even if you already made that decision, I just want to invite you to comment down below which one of the patterns hit you the most, which one of the lies you bought and created the most destruction in your life. Just comment below. I would really appreciate that. Now, if you want to rebuild, well, that rebuild starts with the truth. No more pretending, no more guessing, no more blaming the ex, the parents, the court, the system, the everything in the world. You'll take your finger, you point at you, and you say, me. I'm the owner of my life, and I can do this. And if you want to live freely, live powerfully, live lovingly, you need to rise. And it all starts with the R, reality. And that's where we're going next. In the next video, we begin the rebuild. I'm going to show you exactly how you can take full ownership of where you are, without the lies, without the blame, without the shame, without the guilt, full ownership. Because if you can't face the truth, you're going to keep trying to fix the wrong problem. And that's just going nowhere. So that's where everything changes. I'll see you there. Take care.